Have you ever heard of the 17 UN SDGs, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? They refer to the 17 most alarming problems that humanity is facing right now and which needs to be solved by a set deadline. These problems require tremendous amount of effort, money, and manpower to solve it. But the process of including biomimicry into it can help us achieve it in a much more feasible manner. By feasible, I mean if you just evaluate the history of evolution of creatures or probably evolution of systems that nature has to offer us right now, you'll figure out nature accomplishes tasks in a pretty efficient manner. Be it the entire process of water cycle or waste recycling or energy redistribution or probably just the survival of a diverse set of beings on this planet, nature has done this in a pretty good fashion. Biomimicry is the process of getting inspired from how nature does it to bringing these solutions into the human world to solve the problems which are more concerning to humans. Now, this is a translatory process. We take inspiration from nature and develop technologies which can help us. Let's discuss one example case study in biomimicry itself. This case targets towards one specific UN SDG, which is the UN SDG number 7, getting affordable and clean energy to everyone across the world. I've tried to inculcate the learnings that I've gotten across a few organisms that I personally studied during the development of this project into improving the adoption rate of solar panels by the households, specifically for the use case of rooftop solar. Let's get started. The growing human population and the growing standard of living is directly proportional to the amount of energy we are consuming annually. The graph here shows a growing energy demand for India in a very specific use case. Despite continuous efforts by our government to shift to renewable energy sources, the maximum electricity generating source today in India is still coal. We're here to solve a very niche problem. What is the issue that is stopping people from adopting solar panels into their homes directly? Why are we at all dependent on a centralized power plant which generates electricity somewhere hundreds of kilometers from my home and then transmits it to me where I'll be using it? This specific use case drives us to the distribution of what is the exact issue which avoids users to deploy solar panels in their home. Solar technology was initially advertised as a deploy and a forget technology, but in reality it is not so. It requires constant maintenance and care, be it cleaning, be it repair, be it upgradation, whatever. Hotspots are areas of permanent damages to the solar panel where the energy generation efficiencies drop to a massively low level because of dirt accumulation, of shading, of various reasons, which this pie chart shows. 40% of all hotspots are created by dust accumulation and soiling. This soiling may include bird droppings, may include lack of cleanliness of the panels, etc. We want to solve this problem very specifically through the lens of biomimicry. The issue with hotspots is not just the efficiency drop because the area is covered with dust. The circuitry underlying these affected areas gets destroyed permanently, affecting the overall generation efficiency of the solar panels itself. So, as time progresses, and if these hotspots are not treated, which indeed these cannot be treated after they get formed because that's a permanent damage, there is a constantly deteriorating cycle that starts in the panel, which eventually takes the toll of the entire panel itself. So our main aim would be to make solar panels immune against hotspot creation altogether. After defining the problem statement, we go on to biologize the functions. What exactly do we need from the solution? This requirement is divided into 3 parts. The first one is to keep the surface clean. The second is to distribute heat evenly. And the third is to protect the panel from burns. These functions are simplified to an extent which is efficient enough to help us find its biological equivalents in the natural world. Going on to discovering organisms, the first one which I came across was an insect called cicada. It's found in the regions of North America, where this insect is known for its wings, which are meant to be kept clean to a very good extent. Its wings are generally free from any dust or water accumulation, regardless of the weather or the condition it lives into. The reason for this level of cleanliness goes at a very small scale, the nanostructures that its wings possess. The convolutions which are shown in the microstructure diagram given just besides the image, these convolutions are basically necessary to repel water or any kind of foreign particles that might try to stick onto its surface and induce the property of superhydrophobicity onto its wings. Right. Similarly, we have the Australian green tree frog. Again, it is known for its clean feet, which is pretty counterintuitive looking at the environment which it lives into, which is pretty humid tropical forest. But the mechanism this frog possesses is a bit different. It uses mucus flushing to flow off all the dust particles or any impurity that might have crept onto its feet to just ensure that its grip is strong on surfaces of trees or probably big tropical leaves. We have baby toes plant, which in scientific language is called Fenestratia aurantica. Now this plant is pretty similar to what a solar panel does. Not exactly producing electricity, but if you see in the diagram attached here, sunlight enters into this plant via a lens-like surface on the top. Now this sunlight is reflected from the inclined surfaces to the cells which are capable of producing glucose via photosynthesis. Because this grows in Namib Desert in southern Africa, it has to take care of the amount of sunlight it allows inside. Also, the opening, because it's very small, it has to be very cautious that this opening for sunlight should never be blocked. This blockage has to be prevented from any desert sand or any other insect droppings or bird droppings whatsoever. Otherwise, the plant wouldn't be able to photosynthesize and it will die for sure. So what it does is it has this waxy covering on top of this, on top of the surface, which is shown like water droplets in the image. These are not exactly water droplets, but the waxy cover. This also acts as a convex lens, which focuses sunlight to a very particular spot. Similar to the iris in our eyes, the same object can also help regulate the amount of sunlight it allows inside the plant. And overall, this helps to keep the surface clean, plus regulate the amount of sunlight that goes inside, and also protects from burns for the very sensitive photosynthesizing cells. The last organism which we discussed is the giant sequoia tree. These trees are found in the Californian region. Again, these are pretty old trees and they are known for their sturdy. They have survived very great forest fires because California is prone to these kind of wildfires in very frequent term intervals. The reason again goes down at a micro scale, where the fibrous and multi-layered structure has air pockets inside them which dissipate heat and insulate the inner tissues from fire. Now we try to ensemble all of these strategies to get onto the final strategy which we want to adopt to solve the solar panel issue, right? As it might be very clear to you that there is no one single strategy that we can straight away adopt and put it in our solution to help solar panels overcome all the three problems. So here is just an abstraction of what I've found the most important aspect of every strategy, going from the super hydrophobicity in the cicada wings, which has these nano pillars of inter-pillar distance to be close to the wavelength of light which falls onto the wings, which is mostly the visible light. In our case, it will be the light that is used for photoejection of electrons. Then comes the Australian green tree frog strategy. Then we have the baby toes plant and the sequoia tree strategies, which are also depicted by the diagrammatic views. Emulation comes as the next step, where we derive all the important aspects from all of these individual strategies and try to create one hybrid strategy out of it. This hybrid strategy would look something like this in the solution, which is split in two parts. The first one is essentially the top surface of the panel, where by surface engineering, we can specifically engineer instead of having a very plain surface, we can have it as a semi-curved surface, wherein the curve itself has some convolutions, and the length and the distance, the inter-pillar distance of these convolutions also has to be engineered to a very specific level, so that it is transparent to the light which is used for photoejection, plus it does not allow any foreign particle, be it water molecule or be it any dust particle, to stay or stick onto the surface, right? And via just a normal splash of water, everything should just get washed away. Below the solar panel, there should be another conducting surface kept, which allows heat equalization across the panel so that there is no specific local heating that causes burns later on, right? Here is a brief cost evaluation, which gives us a number of close to 17,000 rupees per year, which can be saved easily by deploying the strategy. Now, this number can be looking to you to be a very trivial or a very small number looking at an annual level, but the thing to be noted here is this is the amount that is saved right in the first year, wherein the efficiency drop might just be at its starting stage. As and when time progresses, this efficiency drop does not increase linearly. Instead, it compounds, and everybody knows the power of compounding. So this number would start increasing at a very alarming rate, and after a point, the entire solar panel would fail to deliver its rated efficiency. Forget about the rated efficiency. It will nowhere meet the expectations of the toned down version that the deployer might have had in the back of his mind while deploying the panel itself. So the more important thing over here is the permanent damages that these hotspots cause to the panel and their efficiency is avoided. So the long-term cost saving is the major benefit out here. So the final solution after ensembling everything would look something like this. Now this is a hand-sketched diagram. Obviously it will require more of computer modeling and process optimization to ensure what should be the most optimum way to produce this kind of a setup. We were initially targeting this UN SDG, or the SDG number 7 of having affordable and clean energy across the world, but we ended up solving for 2 more SDGs, which is sustainable cities and communities and climate action, which are also affected indirectly with this solution. So yeah, this is how, using the power of biomimicry, we could solve a problem that was so particular to human world that it could solve something related to electronics, which does not naturally appear in nature. It's something that humans had created from scratch, and because we created this thing, we had another problem and we used nature to solve that problem. So yeah, that's all. Thanks a lot for going through this project, and have a great time.